an emotional day for me, and I imagine it's an emotional day for a lot of us. And I was going to tell a story about like way back when and intuition, but I think it's more pertinent to talk about intuition right now. So I am a white person. The majority of us appear to be white folks. If we're not, welcome. I'm glad you're here. But either way, as a person who is white, I've been like really sitting with myself, like what's going on? What do I need to know? What do I need to do right now? Historically, my relationship with injustice is one of like hitting the streets. I always, for like 10 years, I was like the protest person, you know, like if there was direct action to be had around something that I didn't think was right, I would do it. Just jump out and like be out there and have my voice heard. And that felt right for a long time, or at least it felt right enough to be doing it. And as I have grown and shifted, I haven't taken my eyes off of what's not okay, off of the fact that the way our society operates is not fair, that it's actually really violent and it's systemic, and that like there's a lot of things that I benefit from when it comes to my privilege that other people don't, specifically people of color, but also people in the LGBTQ spectrum, immigrants. We could go on and on, right? But I guess what I'm trying to say is, as I have been listening to my intuition as the most recent Black Lives Matter events have taken place regarding the death of George Floyd and so many others, the murder of George Floyd and so many others, I've been really trying to get quiet and listen, because it's very easy to get reactive. It's very easy to jump to be really vocal about something. And then to have the activity fizzle out. And this is not just for the current circumstances and specifically around racism. You could apply this to anything, but for me right now, this is like, okay, what's my role as a white person in the world? That's the intuitive experience that's really up for me. So my wife Tira is here, and she's not my real wife, she's my platonic wife. We hashed it out the other day, like, what is it like when you're listening to your intuition? It can look like pausing, not for the sake of being silent, but for the sake of saying, am I being performative? Am I pushing myself to do something that isn't really in my lane? And that's not to say that fear doesn't come up when we're acting with our intuition, because often when we're acting intuitively, the first thing that comes up is fear. Because what we're doing isn't always in line with what we're supposed to be doing, what we should be doing according to society. So, you know, one of the things that I felt was appropriate was to record the conversation that Tira and I had about like, what are we up to? What's going on? And to let people hear that. And that was my, you know, sort of response in the moment. I'm thinking too about starting a book club about, on Layla F. Saad's book, Me and White Supremacy, or White Supremacy and Me. But I'm not going to do it right now. I'm not going to do it tomorrow. I'm not going to do it next week. I'm probably not even going to do it in the month of June. And the reason why is I do not want it to be a reactive response, because that would be pushing with my mind. I'm wrong. I have to do something. This is on me. Versus, what does my heart say? What is my role in this? And that takes listening, and it has to take patience. So a combination of urgency and patience, I think, is really important when we're thinking of intuition. Because on the one hand, it cannot be rushed. And on the other hand, if we're afraid to take action about something, could be anything, right? In this case, I'm speaking specifically. It's really easy to say, tomorrow, next month. But what I'm interested in always is sustainability. I want what I do in the world. I believe that what I do in the world should be sustainable. And that means that I can commit to a certain amount of time to doing something and really plan for being able to do that. And I think with anti-racism work in particular, it's not like I'm just going to do this for a minute. It's like, no, I'm going to do this like I've been doing it, which is like consistently and compassionately, and sometimes slowly, and sometimes with more urgency, and being willing to do things for the long haul. That's what makes like real serious change in our lives and the lives of others. So for your, you know, for your own journey with any of this, I really encourage you to sit with yourself, be patient, and feel in your body. Like we're going to be doing some practices today around this. Like feel what is coming from up here in this sort of like heady I should space, and feel what's coming from here, like your core, your center. Like what do you know to be true? And really stick with what you know to be true. Because people will hear you when you speak from here. They'll actually hear you in their hearts. Like I hope you're hearing me now. So that's not how I plan to start this whole thing. And that's okay, because I kind of like flying by the seat of my pants anyways, and nothing ever goes like I exactly plan it. And I don't plan that carefully because I know these sorts of things will happen. So let's take another breath, shall we? And really just land. Take as many of those deep breaths as you want. Just land here. Let yourself be here with you right now. This is a time for you. And believe it or not, very little is more important than making time for you, because you cannot act in integrity in anything in your life if you don't know what you're doing. So true. So what I want to invite you into, and this is very optional. You know, I don't know how everyone's feeling in their bodies today, and I didn't say this was going to be a yoga class, but I actually want to invite you into a little bit of movement. And the way I want to start it is seated. Can you still see me? Yeah, so most of us are probably seated. So really simple. In yoga, we think about the spine as being our lightning rod to the divine. And my worldview, my philosophical spiritual view, is one that embraces the divine. If divine doesn't work for you, maybe spirit, source, something bigger than you. That's what I'm talking about. So our lightning rod is our connection to divine, and intuition comes from the divine. We'll talk more about that later. So we're warming up our lightning rod so that we can get the really good information. So simple spinal flexes, it's kind of like cat-cow but seated. Inhaling the chest forward, heart forward, exhaling to round the spine. You want to feel and back and forth, inhaling and exhaling. You want to feel yourself rolling on your seat bones the way you would roll back and forth on a rocking chair. Inhaling forward, exhaling back, loosening up the muscle tissue around the spinal column. Getting the synovial fluid in the spine, the spinal fluid moving. It's what makes the whole thing tick. So go as slowly as you need to for it to feel comfortable. You can go a little faster if that feels right with you, for you. You can include a little bit of neck and chin, or play with keeping your chin parallel to the ground, and see what that does to really enhance the quality of your spine moving. Nice. Inhaling forward, exhaling back. We'll just be here a little bit longer. We want to be here long enough to really get things moving. Letting the inhale be full, letting the exhale be complete. And inhale, spine tall, hold the breath in for a moment. Lift the pelvic floor, in the crudest terms, the rectum, sex organs, and low belly. A gentle lift, almost like you're holding in. Try not to go to the bathroom. Exhale to release. Be still for a moment. Just witness yourself here. Continue to land. Sigh out if it feels right. Notice what your body feels like here. You might observe a little bit of tingling, a little more space, something along those lines. And then the invitation is to stand. If you feel you gotta stay seated, that's absolutely appropriate. But we're gonna take the 4 fingers in front of the shoulders and the thumb behind. And I'm doing the same as you, I'm not mirroring you. We're gonna inhale towards the left and exhale towards the right. Inhale left, exhale right. Little bend in the knees to protect the knees here. Go as slow again as you need to, but you can get a good little clip going. You'll notice that you have some momentum building. These are little components of a Kundalini yoga practice, which is has been unbelievably helpful for me in building my intuition because it builds my awareness of energy. And our energy is what tells us where to go. Our energy is like this gift from the divine. And so when we learn how to read it better, we know what to do. Inhale left, exhale right. Little bend in the knees. Think about expelling all the stale air from your lungs here and drawing in what is fresh, drawing in what is vibrant, because the most challenging times in my experience have been the most fertile ground for what is vibrant, for what is new, for what is fresh. Good, we'll just be a little bit longer. In Kundalini Yoga, we stay in the postures, these repetitive postures, just long enough to break the entrancing cycle of our typical thought patterns. Good, and then inhale to center. Suspending the breath again, lifting that pelvic floor, gaze to your third eye with the eyes closed. Just hold everything in like you're a light bulb turned on. Exhaling gently, allowing the hands to come down. Feel the ground under your feet. Feel yourself rooted here. And feel the space above your head. And notice the sensations in the breath moving in everything between the soles of the feet and the crown of the head. Just tapping in. Nothing to do but notice. And if the eyes are closed, bring them open. I'm gonna make my way back down to seated. You can do whatever you want because it's your life. Right on. Okay. Wow, I'm just really grateful to you guys for sticking with it. Thank you for being here. What a day. Okay, I have to remember how to share my screen. Give me a sec. Okay. Tech skills. Okay. Oh shoot. Sharing is different in Google Docs than it is when you're sharing your screen. And there it goes. All right. Well, we'll see if we can get it rolling. But the question I was going to ask is, how do you define intuition? So take a second, if you have a piece of paper or something, actually pause and think about what your definition of intuition is. And like pro tip, always, if we're talking intuition or life in general, first thing that comes to your mind is correct. Welcome, Kim. Welcome also Moto G6, mystery person. Feel free to type in the chat who you are. Yeah, so if you're coming right in. How do you define intuition? Your answer is correct. Isn't that cool? Why don't they teach us that in school? Because nobody will get the answers right on the tests. How do you define intuition? And for anybody who's joining, if you don't want your image to be on YouTube, please just turn your image off because I'm going to be sharing this. So I bet some people have some ideas about how they define intuition. I would love to see them in the chat. Ah, Mom, you're the best. That deep, insistent stirring of moving towards something. Oh, I like it. Sue says, my gut feeling. Yeah. Anybody else? Feel free. My first gut feeling, not my reaction. Chris, nice. Yeah. Yeah, you are so welcome to add yours to the chat. Let's get one more. I know you guys can do it. My divine truth. Love it. Love you, Chris. The sense of truth without analysis. Oh, I like that, Luke. And now that I know you a little bit better, because we had a conversation, I totally hear what you're saying. Yeah, cool. Thank you, everybody, for adding that. You all are making this call. Okay, so share screen. We're going to try again. Consciousness of my surroundings and the people in my circle. Yeah, Susan, I like that. See, I can change. I called you Susan because that's what you signed up as. Okay, cool. I can't see you right now. So if you have something really important or you have a question, I invite you to unmute yourself. I'm sharing the screen so I can't see you. Okay. Intuition equals instructions from the divine. That's mine. That's how I like to think about intuition. Source, God, goddess, spirit. You get the picture. Whatever phrase works for you to talk about that thing that is outside of us. Like what you were feeling after that movement, to me, that's a really obvious indicator of the divine. Sure, it's, endocrine system shifting and physiological systems doing their thing, but on a subtle level, that's the divine moving within us. Okay, here's the big thing about intuition. The big thing that really takes the onus off of us, really unburdens us. Intuition isn't yours. It's something that comes through you. Like the water in the hose doesn't belong to the hose. It just goes through the hose. Like we're the hose, we're the vessel here. And there's something that's trying to come through us. And it's our job to listen. So it's a beautiful thing because it's not about you. If you're all in your head and you're all worried, like I'm constantly getting and having to pull myself down from, don't worry. If you just pause and listen, you will know what to do. The scary thing, and I think this is especially scary in our culture, is that often what we need to be doing is nothing. Not perpetually, but enough nothing to wait for the right instructions so that we don't zap into the next thing because we're reacting, because we're afraid and we're acting out of fear. I love this stuff. I'm so glad you want to listen to me so I don't just have to talk to myself or my wife about it. Not that talking to Tira isn't amazing. It's just really nice to talk to a lot of really cool people. Yeah, so intuition is not of us. It comes through us. Like, the more I get that through my head, and the more you get that through your head, the more life is going to start happening for you and not to you. It will unfold just by virtue of recognizing that there's something bigger. And really that you have a bigger role than just doing for the sake of your own like individual identity. There's a bigger picture that we're being asked to look at. So this idea of divine alignment, I think what Lori said was similar to something along these lines, like instructions from the divine or something. I'll lose my whole setup if I X out of this. But yes, there's this idea of being in alignment with the divine. So in yoga, we use alignment physically to keep ourselves from getting injured. You know, learning how to do downward dogs so that you don't screw up your hamstrings or your wrists or anything else is really important. There's actually no point. In fact, it's damaging to practice yoga if you don't understand alignment. And I believe that it's no different when we're thinking about how we're moving about our lives. So this idea of divine alignment, I think about us as almost like there's a hologram of us, and one hologram is like spirit coming through. And the other hologram is me as the doer, me a dare who can get in her head, who makes bad choices sometimes, and all of that, you know, the ego self, the part of me that edges God out, ego. So this hologram selves, when I'm following my intuition, when I'm connected to source and kind of in lockstep with the instructions I feel myself to be getting, they overlay on each other. And that's an alignment. And you know the feeling. When's the last time you did something that just felt right? Maybe you called someone because you just knew that they needed to hear from you, or whatever it was. You gave your partner a hug, you, I don't know, picked some litter off the ground. There's a feeling that comes from that. And we just know that it's the right thing in the moment. Not like I'm right or wrong, but that it's in alignment. And keeping an eye on that feeling that's the key. The alternative is really interesting, because as much as it's clear when we're in alignment, it's also really clear when we're out of alignment. And we're going to do a practice in a minute that will illustrate that, hopefully. But what does it feel like when you're walking into a situation that you're like, oh, I should not be here? You know, this is not the person for me to be hanging out with. This is not the food that I should be eating. This is not what I want to be drinking, whatever it is. There's like a revolt in the body. And we've been taught culturally to override that, because we have a 40-hour work week and that's what we show up for. And, you know, you're expected to produce and all of the above, right? There are these shoulds that we should be doing. Or what if you're like gender nonconforming, right? And you were asked to wear a dress when you were like not comfortable in a dress? Or what if you were just asked to wear a dress in general and you were not comfortable wearing a dress? And you didn't have a choice, really, like even as a kid. That feeling of like, no, this is wrong, but doing it anyways, that's being out of alignment. And of course, if you really don't have a choice, or like the kid example maybe isn't a great one because they don't have a lot of choices sometimes. But as adults, we do have choices in what we do. And you'll notice that, like, if a cat is interested in stepping into a space, the cat will, I want to see you guys. It's difficult. Okay. If the cat doesn't like what's going on in the room, is the cat going to enter the room? He's going to hightail it. Literally. He's going to turn around and be like, fuck that. No, not my space. Horses are amazing intuition teachers, right, Chris? Like, they will not if it doesn't feel right. And Susan, you too, and Mackenzie, yeah. A lot of horse people in here. Yeah, so they know they're in alignment pretty much all the time, because they don't have these weird forebrains that we do. They just know what to do, and they do it. And if it's not in alignment with them, they don't do it. We humans have a lot of work to do with regards to alignment, which is okay. All right, I just wanted to tap in and just wanted to see you guys for a minute. All right, back to our slides. It's not like there's very much on them anyways. It's just words. I'll show you the next one. All right. So the next one, oh gosh, my life is hard. Desire. You don't have to justify your desires to anyone. My teacher, Kate Stillman, said that a while back. And I was like, no one had ever said that to me. It's not that I didn't think like that, it's not like I thought that was wrong or anything, but I'd never considered that as a possibility. So yeah, you don't have to justify your desires to anyone. So take a minute and just think really broadly. What are the qualities that you desire in your life? You can share them in the chat or just internally consider. You know, some of the qualities that I desire are spaciousness, ease, connectivity, purpose. So some of those might resonate, or you might have something really, really different. But intuition and desire really go together, because like my mom said with her definition of intuition, it's this drawing forward into something else. And we know what that something is because there is a desire. And taking a moment to tap into that and really consider, what do I want? Without thinking about this person, your boss, your partner, your kid, your parent, whoever. It can actually, it's like a pretty radical act, actually, to just think about what you desire outside of the context of everyone who you might have to explain it to. And it really just takes practice. Practice coming into awareness of what you want. And then over time, it becomes easier and easier to just act on your desires, because over time you will make choices that are different. Inevitably, if you focus on your desires and you allow yourself to become unstuck from where you're at, if in fact you are stuck. All right. Oh, that's my PSA. You don't have to justify your desires to anyone. Okay, so let's do a practice. This is the meat and potatoes. Where are you guys? All right. So making yourself pretty comfortable, right? Like letting yourself look straight on, straight ahead. Probably seated. Standing is totally fine. And allowing the eyes to close or allowing them to soften. And just tapping in to something deeper than the surface. Focusing more internally than externally. And I want you to think of a situation in your life where you could keep doing what you're doing. Or perhaps there's this sense that maybe some change could happen around it. It could be work. It could be relationships of any kind. It could be with what you do with your time. It could be with how you engage with food or substances, like anything. And again, the first thing that comes to your mind is correct. So just roll with it. If you really can't come up with anything, think of a past experience where you were stuck. So I want you to get present with the reality of where you're at with that scenario, relationship, situation, fill in the blank. think about and feel into really, like, what are you wearing in this situation? And it's just as it is. So really envisioning the kind of present day stuff. What are you thinking? What are your thoughts like? What are your emotions like? And as you get as real as you can with envisioning this experience, what does it feel like in your body? Noticing around your heart, your shoulders, belly and chest. And even in your head. What is the sensation that accompanies this kind of path of least resistance that's happening right now, presumably? And there's no right or wrong here. It's just being with it. Like, what is that experience like? Getting really curious about it, actually. So zooming out ever so slightly, notice yourself standing at the starting point of two paths. The one path is the one that we've just been exploring. So you're standing just slightly on that path. And then in your mind's eye, step back to the neutral spot between the two of them. And start to attend to the other path. Maybe it looks a little different. Maybe it looks a little wilder, a little less tame. Don't worry, there's no poison ivy. It's your imagination. You can do whatever you want. So consider now, from this neutral place, moving into this more unknown path. It may be a really clear alternative choice to compared to the other path that we just explored. It may be a way of living, a way of engaging, a way of habitually feeling that's very different. So think about your other choices. Feel into your other choices. And go into your wildest dreams, because there's nothing holding you back in this moment. Notice that you're breathing and sense into what this alternative feels like. Maybe a very different way of being than the other path. A very different way of feeling. What are your thoughts like there? What are your emotions like there? How do you move? What does your body feel like as you tap into this possibility? How does your heart center feel? And what's the tone of your voice like? And then allow yourself to step back into that neutral place between the two paths and feel into the differences between them. On the one hand, you have the path that's steady as she goes, just as it were, like the way a river runs in the deepest part of the riverbed, that one, the one you're used to, the one you're doing now. And on the other hand, there's something different. And just compare how the one feels in your body. You might notice space, constriction, tension, lightness, any of these, or something else. And notice how the other feels. And get a sense that neither is good or bad, but that one may lead to more spaciousness in your life, and the other may lead to more condensing. And moving back to that sense of desire. What is it that you want? And either one could be the right choice. And if you do this on your own later, you can have 4 paths if you want. It doesn't have to be 2. It could be an infinite number of paths. One of them might feel more scary. One of them might make your heart race a little bit more. So getting a sense of whether that's a no from your body or whether it's simply the response to doing something different. That's really the work. And all we can do is practice. We just keep trying, and it gets clearer and clearer what's a no and what's a, this is hard, are you sure? And nobody knows but you, which, especially if you're new to this concept, can be kind of terrifying. Like, you mean nobody can tell me what to do? I'm like, no. Nobody knows except for you. Because these are your instructions. And you have a particular role to play. And you're the expert on that. So it can be scary if you're new to it, or it can be scary if it feels like a big ask, whatever that path that maybe is the path of most resistance is. But in my experience, and as I watch people that I work with, choosing that which is a little scary but means growth is one of the most liberating experiences I can have. And I watch people do it, and it's amazing to just shed that should experience and to go with what is in divine alignment. Yeah. Yeah. So if you're still in your space of meditation, I invite the eyes to come open. And you can move around a little bit or smile or whatever it takes to get in your body here. And just kind of pause and notice what you're noticing about that experience. Feel free to share in the chat too if you want to, or write it down for yourself. That, like, what did you get from that? What came up? And as you write, as you reflect, consider too, if one of them felt more spacious, if it felt like the right choice in the sense of aligned choice, what's the next smallest step that you can take to move towards that aligned choice? What's the littlest thing that is sustainable, right? That can lead you towards what feels right. Very relaxed, inner peace. Tira says she wants to invite more play into her work, let go of the constriction. Yeah. So thinking real small. It could be taking more deep breaths more often. That could be your next smallest step. It could be moving across the country. For everybody, it's going to be different. I don't know. That's your problem. Smiling at yourself. Yeah, Chris, I love that. Yeah. So what about the shoulds? I should be doing this. I should be doing that. If you really want to know what I think, fuck them. Doesn't matter. Somebody who doesn't want you to be living in alignment is someone that I would really encourage you to question whether they have a place as close to you as they currently have. Is that someone you want that close to you? And if it's not, what's the next smallest step to moving into whatever space you need to be in, where you're supported, right? So yeah, the shoulds. I should be doing this. Oh, I should wear a bra. It's no, not necessarily. It's my own personal journey. No, because first of all, it's not that big of a deal. Nobody really cares. That's really the big thing is people don't actually care as much as we think. And the other half is who gets to decide if I don't get to decide with whatever is going on, right? There are a lot of constraints, a lot of shoulds. Some of them really make sense, driving on the right side of the road, not a bad idea. And some of them don't. And our work as beings on this planet is teasing that apart. What do I want to do? What do I not want to do? If what I want looks exactly like what a lot of people want and it's in alignment, I better keep doing that. I better not, posture as somebody else. If what I want looks really different, I better do that if I want to live my best life. Otherwise, I'm going to decay inside. And that's no good. We don't want that. So where do we go from here? I'm going to share my screen with you again because I like my really basic, slides. And where do we go from here? Okay, we've done this. Now what? Community, community, community. You might have noticed even by showing up on this call that you're not alone in wanting to get a better sense of what's going on with your intuition. And I know that when I show up in a space and I look around and I see oh, that thing that feels a little bit edgy or different, there's people who know about this and who want to know more about this. That has a great effect on my nervous system. I want to be around people who share the values that I have. In this case, it's intuition. And, by default, it's dismantling white supremacy because that's where I went today. That's who I'm interested in spending time with is people who share the values that I care about. Values around ease, right? When I talked about my desires, values around really being holistically well and around building each other up. Those are really important to me. And if I spend too much time around people who don't share those values, the habits that are attached to those values, they're not going to stick. And if this is newer work for you, it's going to be that much harder to get it to stick if you're not actively engaging with people who value this kind of work. We're just not meant to go it alone. And you might be well, I'm a lone wolf and all of that. And maybe so, but where am I? But this is what I was looking for. But do you know how good it feels to be seen and celebrated exactly as you are in this moment? That's what community is. And when we're in the business of intuition, when we're in the business of like getting down to brass tacks, like what is the deal with my life? What do I want from my life? It's really important to be celebrated because we can feel like we're wrong. Shoulds. What am I doing? I'm changing this, I'm changing that. If we're starting to really move in alignment and make decisions that are different from what we've made before, perhaps, it can feel really disconcerting. So being around people who see and celebrate the shifts that we make, there's not much that's more important if you're living an evolutionary life. So I want to tap in for just a moment and talk about the program that I run. So it's a year-long program. It's called Being Extraordinary. And it really is about taking the time to develop ourselves to the point where we feel extraordinary. Like, I feel extraordinary. And that's a beautiful thing. And it is what I want everyone to feel. So what I do is I lead people on a journey, like I said, for a year. And we use the wisdom of yoga and ayurveda, which is the sister science to yoga. It's almost like the medicine of yoga. We use that to get the mind, body, and spirit into alignment. And along with the shifts that come with implementing this wisdom, come identity evolution shifts. So we start to act differently. We start to behave differently, and we start to feel different because we are different people. It's about habit change, the entire course. And when we change our habits, we change our personality. So our identity evolves. And when our identity evolves, what we're really doing, if we're doing it on purpose, is living an intuitive life. Love this stuff. So we use 10 habits throughout the course of the program. They're the 10 habits of yogis. And over the course of the year, we do 4 rounds or 4 quarters through the 10 habits. So you have time, 1, 2, 3, 4 quarters to go through them again and again and again to really get the hang of it. So it's a slow and steady progress building. And I use the science of behavior change and the power of a dynamic group to help build people into who they want to become next. Like, how do you want to transform? What are your goals? Okay, let's do it. Let's get you on your way to becoming. Like, I can't make you a pro basketball player, but I can definitely get you closer to being a pro basketball player. Just an example. So that's 40 plus weeks to hone your intuition. The quarters have weeks as end caps. So we have an intro week and a closeout week as well. So when you have more rhythm, which is what comes from these habits through your day-to-day, you have more space. You can listen to your intuition and you can get more in alignment, and you can continue to titrate and have way less of the fluff and distraction that's keeping you from living your best life. And I don't think there's anything more exciting. So coming back again to being celebrated and being seen, like, do you know what that feels like to be in a group of people who see you and celebrate you exactly as you are? You're just showing up with tears on your face like I did at the beginning of this call, or showing up applauding yourself. We often start with brags. Like, we start our Zoom meetings with brags. What did you accomplish? What little thing did you do that was the right choice? For logistics sakes, we meet over Zoom on Thursday nights at 7 p.m. And we have people who are in the Rochester area, and we have people who are all over the place. Some of them are even with us right now. Little plants. Yeah. So who are you becoming? With all this in mind, like, who are you becoming? What's next? And you can even fill in the blank. Like, I'm becoming someone who uses her intuition to compassionately change the world. That's someone I'm becoming. Even more so, all the time, and it's on purpose. So in this group, as we move forward, we're always tapping into, like, who are you becoming? Who are you becoming? So that we're not living accidental lives, we're actually living lives that are on purpose. So I have conversations with people. I offer a free 60-minute conversation for you to look into who you're becoming. I hold the space similar to some of the space holding that was done earlier today, in this talk. I hold the space, I ask the questions, you just show up, and you consider what you want, and we kind of go into a hologram of like, who are you going to become? Where do you want to go? And then, assuming I can help you, we talk more about my group and all of that. So it's a completely free conversation. I feel really strongly about service. So it's something that's available to anybody, even if they're just remotely interested in my program. And these are really life-changing. They're one of my favorite things to do with people. These are conversations where people start in one position and begin to get unstuck. So even if you don't end up signing up for being extraordinary, it is an opportunity to unstick yourself from whatever you've got going on. Because let's be real, we've all got some stuckness. It's just a matter of whether we're engaging with it or not. So the next quarter is filling up really fast. I only have 3 spots left. It starts in July, in the middle of July. And it's just they're selling like hotcakes, folks. People realize that this is a really good time to be getting down to brass tacks about what we're doing with our lives. The world is on fire. We better know what we're up to. But seriously. So if you want to talk, wthe.com/talk, you're also more than welcome to learn more at wthe.com/being. And you can contact me with any questions, and I would totally love to talk with you. So questions, comments. Oops, I'm with Adair at Instagram, and that's my email, which you probably know because you wouldn't be here without the link. So yeah, that's what I got. Who has questions? Who has thoughts? Questions about the program, questions about intuition. You can feel free to put them in the chat or unmute yourself. Nadia, nobody? That's cool. Ooh, Caitlin. Caitlin's a member of my program, Being Extraordinary. Did you unmute yourself? I accidentally unmuted you. There we go.
Are we good?
I asked Caitlin if she had any interest in saying a word or two. She's also my oldest friend. We've been friends since I was 12.
We go way back.
We go way back. So I asked Caitlin if she wanted to share for a minute about what her experience has been like at Being Extraordinary.
Sorry, I'm having a little technical special times. But no, I wanted to jump in. We've only had basically our first quarter and a couple things, but the experience has really been incredible. I think going through the habits themselves are really helpful and everything like that, but kind of the more meta changes of being able to, like a lot of what she was talking about, being able to work through these things with a group of people who are all really, really dedicated to learning and growing and supporting. And I've been amazed at the changes that I've seen in this short period of time. And personally, one of my real goals going into it was to kind of get more in touch with that intuition and kind of self-compassion and, and all of that. And it's funny, we set goals and things in the beginning and keep track of them. And I was going back and looking and realizing that every single goal that I had set in the beginning of this course has actually become so automated and just happening that I kind of even stopped thinking about it and realizing how much progress had actually happened. And Adair is just a joy to work with. She brings humor and holds space and makes the hard things seem light and the light things seem celebrated. And I just can't say enough good stuff about it. I'm really, really feel very lucky that I happened into this whole concept. So that's what I got. Highly recommend. 5 stars.
I paid her a lot of money to say that. She's very well spoken, isn't she? She's worth it.
It's good stuff.
Thank you so much for sharing that. It's been amazing to watch you. It's been amazing to watch everybody in the program do their thing.
Can I have like a 5-second? Forgot to say. Always remember what I wanted to say when I'm done. Is I have to say, especially in the insanity of these times, I have been so glad so many times to have been able to be working through this program with Adair and with these other people. It has made, in any times, it would have been a fabulous life choice. In these times, it's been crucial, and stuff. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, thank you. For me too. It's been amazing. So I put it in the chat wthe.com/talk. You have literally nothing to lose. Can I get a show of hands from anybody who's had a conversation with me and it's been like pretty cool? Well, most of you have. Everybody who's unmuted has already, they're showing back up. That's a good sign. Or everybody whose video is showing has raised their hands. Yeah. So if you're like on the fence about it, like you got nothing to lose. It's good. Oh, I got some thumbs up. I like that. So yeah, I love having these conversations, and it's my job to help people get unstuck. So however I can help is my pleasure. So contact me. Let's talk. You got nothing to lose. And I'm really grateful that you spent this hour with me and even let me cry at the beginning of it. Thank you. I feel a lot better. Yeah, so if anybody has any more questions or any questions or anything like that, I'm so happy to share. Mackenzie, what's up?
I just wanted to say a quick hello. I'm joining the group in July, and some of you might already be in it, so hi. And if you're thinking of joining, that's cool. It'd be fun to have more people in my cohort group.
Whoop, whoop.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for saying hey.
Oh,
Yeah, Mackenzie's awesome.
I just want to bottle the feeling I'm currently having.
If you figure out a way, let me know. We can sell it.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Sell it and travel the world doing so.
That sounds very you.
Well, when you said, just up and move cross country, I'm like, are you speaking directly to me?
It might have been.
Wouldn't be the first time.
Right?
But thank you so much.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.
You bring so much peace.
Glad to hear it. We need it, my friends. We need it. So stay strong, stay in touch, and yeah, be well. I'm sure I'll see you all again soon. Mwah. Talk to you later.
Love you, dear.
Love you.
Thanks, love.
Love you all.
Love
Bye.
you all. Bye-bye.